Happy Friday, Greenies, and welcome to the Green Room Friday edition. I should probably put a date, right? Like, I feel like it could be any Friday, but then it may be good that it could be any Friday. Anyway, maybe I'll just start saying the day. Like, it's July 3rd. I don't know. I'll see how I feel about all this, okay? Because your girl be changing up stuff all the time. So anyway, we are in the green room. Welcome to the green room. I hope you guys have had a fantastic week. Mine has been pretty good, actually. A lot of stuff has gotten done and I'm super excited about that. But yeah, I want to talk about today, since it is July 3rd, and so tomorrow is Independence Day, and so I kind of want to talk about, it brings up in my mind a lot of thoughts about independence, what that means, also codependency, and I don't know if y'all know, maybe y'all don't, but codependency is something that I have struggled with. And probably you guys have struggled with it. I don't know. Maybe this is the first time you're hearing these words. Maybe you have like a preconceived notion about what it is. I know that I definitely did when I first started learning and reading more about what codependency was. And so I just kind of want to talk about that today in the green room. So let's get started. So codependency was definitely something that I would have never described myself as. If somebody came up to me and was like, "Oh, Angie, you're codependent," I would have looked at them like they was crazy. I was about to be like, "No, not me. I'm super independent. I'm super capable. I know what I'm doing. I don't need no help from nobody." And so I definitely would have brushed off that description of myself. But last year, I was having some difficulty in my relationship, and so I decided to start seeing a wonderful therapist, BTW. If you do not have a therapist, please find one, because you know what? Black mental health matters. We go through a lot of trauma, a lot of PTSD, and we need somebody to talk to. And having a good therapist, even if it's like, "Oh, I'm good, I'm strong, I can deal with the things that I deal with," or "I'm not really crazy." No, boo-boo. We all need a therapist, even if it is just to do a self-check-in, every few months, every 6 months, once a year. It should be just like getting your mammogram, your pap smear, your annual. You should have someone that you can talk to about these issues, even if it is just to self-reflect. So find yourself a good therapist. So I was seeing a therapist and I was really struggling with some issues in my relationship. And so she had suggested that I read this book called Codependency No More, or Codependent No More, I think it's called. And just like me, I was like, what am I going to read this book for? I don't even know what this is about. Why do I need to read this book? But I was really looking for answers. I was really looking and seeking to change, and I wanted to do something different. And so I was like, okay, let me read the book. Let me take a chance. Let me, check it out, see what it's about. And when I tell you, this book changed my whole life. It changed my whole life. Now, mind you, codependency is not just with romantic relationships. Codependency is not just with married people or married couples or whatever. You can have codependency issues with friends, family, co-workers, ex-lovers, whatever. Okay, pretty much it's in any type of relationship that you have. So don't think, "Oh, well, I'm not married," or, "Oh, well, I don't have anybody, so I can't be the codependent." You need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. So in this book, the author is incredible, and she really breaks it down. She's not a scientist. She's not a super kind of lecture-y kind of person, because she doesn't come from that background. she comes from the background of family members, children of people that are in Al-Anon, so like Alcoholics Anonymous. And she began to see kind of this pattern that people had when they were dealing with people who were alcoholics. And so I have come to understand that my codependency is very much like alcoholism, in that, and I apologize if there is anyone struggling with alcoholism. I don't mean to make light of it or make a joke of it, but it really, really, really has a lot of the same mannerisms and the same cure as someone who has a drug or alcohol issue. And she uses a lot of references to that in the book because it does really carry a lot of the similarities. One of those similarities is that even if you're not actively engaged in codependency behavior, you're still codependent. You still need to manage it. You still need to be mindful of it. You still need to make sure that you're holding yourself accountable to it, because if you don't, it's very easy to backslide into learned or observed behavior that we've engaged in. So very much like people that are going through Al-Anon, or family members who are going, along this journey, which is in and of itself enough to need support and accountability. It's very similar. And so codependency was definitely not, and she doesn't give like a direct like definition of what codependency, more so she gives you things to look out for, things that can be codependent. And codependency is going to look different for everyone. But once again, it's about self-evaluation. It's about self-reflection, right? And so I was really struggling with the fact that I have a very type A personality. I am a control freak to the max. If you ask my wife, she will tell you that, or anyone that knows me very intimately. I have really, really difficult time not enmeshing myself in other people's thoughts, desires, needs, whatever. I get very engulfed in their lives. I'm very much a savior. I'm very much like I want to fix things. And so you get so enmeshed in this person's life and their issues or their problems or wanting to help them or wanting to do this or that, that you completely neglect your own wants and needs. And you do it under the guise of love. You do it under the guise of care. You do it under the guise of like, well, if I don't do it, who's going to? And these are all well and good, but it can create resentment. It can create frustration, and it can create anger. And that is what I was experiencing in my relationships. I was not happy with who I was or how I was feeling when I was engaging in that behavior. And so that is what motivated me, because I was creating this cycle where I would start helping someone, right? And I'm like, okay, they need help. Let me go in and help them. And, like Captain Save-A-Ho. And then they would go about their business or do something that was totally counterproductive to what I thought they needed to be doing. So then I became the victim. And I'm like, well, I'm mad and I'm angry and I'm frustrated because you're not doing what I want you to do. And then I became the angry Black woman, right? And that wasn't a good look. And it didn't feel very good. And I began to realize that it is not my responsibility to raise another person. It is not my responsibility to save them. That's a really, really hard concept for me to wrap my head around. I self-identify as polyamorous, so I have multiple intimate, close relationships. And so mind you, trying to do this with one person, much less with a couple people, and also being a mom and taking care of another human being, my familiar ties, like my mother, my brother, my cousins and aunts, and also my friends, so if you're evaluating one relationship, I feel, then you evaluate all relationships. And so I began to really understand that I needed to be able to let go. And letting go is very, very hard. Because you immediately start to feel guilty. You immediately start to feel like, well, I have to do these things because I say I love this person or I care about this person. But when you begin to really understand what the price is of loving this person or wanting to save this person or engaging in any other sort of codependent behavior, I'm not going to say that it gets easier, but you begin to see things in a different light. And you begin to understand that you're sacrificing yourself for someone else. You're sacrificing your needs and your wants and your desire for another person. And me being polyamorous, that's something I never want to do. I never want my partners to sacrifice their happiness for my happiness. I never want them to feel like they can't be completely, authentically who they are, and I will love them even when they're not doing what I want them to do, or even when I don't agree with what they're doing, or I don't like what they're doing, whatever, that they are not seen and honored and loved and respected by me unconditionally. So to be able to do that, I had to let go of wanting to constantly save people, wanting to the guilt of, well, I'm not doing this for this person. I had to let go of those things and create like a whole new narrative for myself of, because I love this person, I'm going to allow them to be completely who they are. I'm going to be here to support. I'm going to be here to offer advice, but it's not my job to save them. I love them so much that I'm willing to let go of that control, let go of those reins, and let them be their own person. That was really hard. And it's still really hard. There are really radical ways to love. And I think we talk about it a lot. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be liked and admired and respected. But what are we willing to give up? What are we willing to let go to really, truly love ourselves first, and to be able to experience unconditional love from those that we have around us? And I think that's really the question. So find yourself an accountability partner, because you're going to need it. I know that when I started on this journey, I shared it with the people that I cared about. I shared it with my partners. I shared it with my best friend, because I knew that I had engaged in this behavior for so long that I was going to need people who knew me and loved me and knew where I was trying to go to hold me accountable. And I also knew that I was human and I was bound to like jack it up sometimes, and that I needed to be kept on that track in a loving way. So for my takeaways in the green room today, if you can, read Codependent No More. It's really great. You know, there's a ton of other books out there also, so please research and look and find one that really resonates for you. Take the time to find a therapist. It's so worth it. And make sure you have a good support system. Find that tribe. Find those people that you love and respect and that you'll listen to in those moments when you're seriously spiraling out of control, because you're going to need it. And be compassionate with yourself. Be loving with yourself. You're on this journey because you want to change and you want to be different, and you don't want to pass on the same patterns to your children, maybe, or whatever the case is. No one is perfect overnight. It takes time. So just as much as you're learning to let go and love the people that are in your life enough to release toxic relationships, or, constantly trying to save people, have the same grace for yourself, because that's really important. And share with me what you're reading. Are you on this journey of understanding your own codependency? Are you, reading something? Are you listening to a podcast? Is this the first time you're hearing about codependency? Like, what are your thoughts? Share them with me. I want to know what you're thinking. I share this with you because you guys are my tribe, and I need all the help I could get, seriously, because it is all about ultimately creating and replicating joy and happiness. Nobody wants to walk around being angry and upset. Who wants that? I don't. So let's do things that is going to create and replicate joy in our lives. We need it now more than ever. So, thank you guys for listening. This is episode number 4 of The Green Room. I'm so excited to be doing this, and I hope that this inspires you a little bit to self-reflect over this Independence Day weekend. I'm calling it Blackout Weekend. And stay well. Love you guys. Peace out.